How's it going, guys? It's been a very long time since I made a video. I don't even remember, at least a month. But I've been busy. I've been working on my Jeep very hard. As you can see, long ways from where it was before. Not much left going on here. I mean, just a little bit more work, but hopefully it'll be on the road. What I wanted to focus on today was a lot of people have been asking me where I got my fender flares or how I made my fender flares. And yeah, I didn't buy these. I couldn't find anything exactly how I wanted. So I had to make them. And today I'm gonna show you how I made them, give you an idea so that you guys can customize them however you want. You can make them exactly how I made mine. You could see how I made mine, use the techniques that I used, and make your own. Make them how you want. But that's the main goal, is just to show you guys. I'm gonna show you how the fenders look. Right about here, the Jeep is just straight across, normally stock, and my tires stick out just a little bit. So I wanted to make some fender flares, and this is what I did. They stick out about 5 inches from here to here. So the first thing I did was I started with the front. I knew that I didn't want to have anything showing in front of the tire, so right here there used to be part of the fender that went all the way around here. It was like a bubble right here. And the first thing I did, I actually have a video of me with a Sawzall. I just cut it right off. I was left from a piece from here to here, and there was a bend that went down this way, and I cut that right off. And then I was left with just a slim piece of sheet metal from here back to here, and that's what I needed to start building the fenders around that. So what I used was electrical conduit, and that was the frame, the structure of it. And then I tacked that in place, and then I used sheet metal and I laid it over top to create the surface of it. But these are the benders here. This is the one that I used specifically. Depending on what size you choose to go with for the round part here, right here, you can see it goes back. I'm still gonna Raptor guard the interior just like I did the inside there, or underneath. But I used 3/4 conduit for this part here. And then you can see I laid sheet metal right on top, and I butt it right up to the edge of the conduit, and I tacked it in. So when you bend a 90, which I bent here, I bent a 90, so I knew that I had to start at 12 inches. Well, I'm just making the numbers up. I don't know exactly what my numbers were, but if I wanted it to end up at 18 inches, I would have started at 12 inches, and I would have ended up at 18 after my 90 was done. After that, I didn't know where my next bend wanted to be. I measured until right about from here, from the front, and I don't remember what the measurements were, but I took that number and I stuck the pipe on the floor and I measured up, and this bend, I wanted the number to be in the middle, my bend to be at the center of the number. This is a 3/4 bender, it says it right there. And for the 90, you want to start right on that arrow. That's where the 12 inches I was talking about would be. It says right here, the gain is 6 inches. So I knew that if I started where that arrow is, after I bent my 90, the back of my 90 would end up 6 inches past. You can see here that I got, my first bend was a 90, and then I went over down to here. And this one, I kept tweaking it until it looked right. I kept putting it back up to the Jeep and then, pulling it back off, and just kept bending it more and more until I got this angle that I wanted. I wanted to aim so that when I bent it here, I went right past this corner, and right when I got close here, I did my final bend. And I don't even think I had specific degrees. I just kept bending it until it looked right, and then I just cut it off right there. I put a couple tacks here, I put a couple tacks in there, and then I took a short piece of EMT there, and I put it across there just for some support. I used some of this paper here. I laid it over the gap, and then I traced the sheet metal that I would need to fill in that gap. And then I just transcribed it over into some sheet metal. I laid it on top, and then I made sure that the sheet metal only got to halfway past my actual conduit. And the reason for that is so that I didn't go anywhere past the curve. I wanted it to just kind of look like I wanted it just to flow so that you couldn't even see where the sheet metal ended up. For the back was a lot easier for me. I'll go on the other side so we can have more space. Now my Jeep, the front end here is actually lower than the back end here. I left these two bends for last, and I just did these two bends first. And what I actually did was I started sketching. None of this was on here, it was just flat, and I drew a line from here, and from here. That way I can measure from here to here, and I knew the distance, and I measured from here to here, and from here to here. That way, when I start my first bend, I made a line there, and I measured whatever I measured on the Jeep, I measured on the conduit, and I measured it to that point, made a mark, and I made my bend there. After that, I measured from here, I put one little bend in there, and I did the same thing over here. I could show you all day. I'm not the best at teaching, but just to give you an idea of how I did it, I'm going to be having videos, as you've already seen in the video, of how I've been doing it step by step, so you can at least see how I did it. I mean, I might not be explaining it the best, but you have an idea of how I got from one step to another. I mean, I love how mine turned out. A lot of people give me compliments on them, and if you can't find, I mean, they get expensive, so if you can make something yourself, I mean, I can't remember, I think it was like $600 for all around if I wanted to buy them myself. So I just made them, I saved money, and I can say that I made them. It's a better feeling, and it looks a lot better than just bolting on some, in my opinion. I got a little sidetracked there, but when I finally had all four bends done, there was 1, 2, 3, and 4. I cut them obviously, so that there was a whole bunch of pipes sticking out on each end, so I just cut them on that side and that side. And what I did first, because I kind of wanted it to be tapered, it might be a little hard to see in the video, but it starts out thicker here and it goes in towards the Jeep as you go to the bottom. And the way I did that was I tacked it in here. I just put a couple welds in here and here, and I put a couple welds in here and here. I had a bungee cord wrapped around here just to hold it up to keep the weight from it, and I wrapped it around my Jeep. But what I did was I welded it here, and I just had enough welds that it stuck in place, but enough that I could pull it back just a little bit. And that's how I measured from here to here. I think I got like 4 or 5 inches, something like that. And I pulled it back just enough, and then I measured the gap between the conduit and the metal. And then I made 2 little pieces from here and right there, and then I welded those in just to give it more support. I mean, these are strong. I stood on top of that. It was unbelievable. I wouldn't do it now because of the paint. After I tacked it in and I got it in place, my work was done. I left it in Fred, my future father-in-law. I left it in his hands. He took care of the rest because he's a body guy. he filled it in to make it look perfect. I mean, it looked pretty good when I was done, but if you're just gonna prime over top of it and paint it, you're gonna see all your imperfections. He took care of the grinding, he flattened everything out, and then he took care of the rest, really. If you don't have access to all the tools like a welder, grinder, shears, sheet metal, conduit, I mean, you can buy all that stuff, but depends on how invested you want to be in it. If you're gonna be buying all that stuff just to do this, it might not be worth it. If you already have the stuff, like Fred has everything. As you can see, I'm walking around in my background. He's got all the tools that I need, and I'm very lucky for that. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to comment down below, ask me, or if you guys have my social media, you guys can just message me personally, I don't mind. I'll try to help you guys out as much as I can. And that's that, guys. I can keep talking about this all day. If you guys have any questions, you just let me know, like I said. If you liked the video, show some love. And that's a wrap for that. You guys will see more videos, hopefully, for me. I mean, once this Jeep gets on the road, I'll have more time on my hands. Like I said, I was very busy, but for now, things are slowing down. I'm gonna have a little bit more time to make videos. So stay tuned, subscribe, and we'll see you next time.